Good morning, Dan and Amy. So, 2 p.m. today, President Trump makes his announcement on what he intends to do about the Iran nuclear deal.
Yep. I thought it was originally supposed to be May 12th, but they bumped it up to 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Sheriff Sanders was asked about that at the White House briefing yesterday, specifically asked about what we discussed yesterday, John Kerry's shadow diplomacy, working with the Iranians to try and preserve the deal in the face of hostility towards it from the Trump administration. Sarah Sanders would asked if Kerry's involvement mattered at all to the president.
I don't think it impacts it at all. I think the president spoke out about that pretty clearly, and I don't think that we would take advice from somebody who created what the president sees to be one of the worst deals ever made. I'm not sure why we would start listening to him now.
I'm not sure why you would either. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by Jim Carafano, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army veteran, author of Surviving the End and Wiki at War, also the VP of Policy at the National Security and Foreign Policy Institute at the Heritage Foundation. Jim, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, good to be with you.
Good. So what do you think Trump should announce today, and why?
I don't care.
You don't
I
care?
mean, he could stick fix or nix. Look, here's the deal's going to die either way. Any way we go, the deal's not going to die. When we signed the deal, it wasn't sustainable over the life of the deal. So, I mean, we are literally all debating something that's not really all that important because the deal's going to die no matter what. So, I'm not really sweating this one. I mean, Iran is an adversarial nation in the United States. It's going to be a problem for us no matter what goes, and it's very unlikely that the Iranians we're going to stick with the deal anyway.
Well, right, but it seemed like the Obama administration approach was to delude ourselves in thinking that they would. So I guess we could continue with that delusion.
Well, look, I mean, here's the deal about the deal. I mean, we could go through the number of ways they lied to us. One of them says, well, oh my God, we kept Iran from becoming a nuclear breakout state when there was actually no evidence that at that particular point in time they were planning on being a breakout state. They're going to break out when they want to, not when they need to. The other was it's slowing Iran's development of a nuclear program, which is an utter complete lie, because there are lots of things Iran has to do to have a usable nuclear weapon. And we really weren't preventing any of those. They can continue to develop their missile program. They can continue to develop their nuclear technology. The only thing they were delaying was the actual processing of nuclear material, and they could do that at the end. So that was a lie. And then, of course, the biggest lie of all was, once Iran's in this deal, they will become a better, more responsible country. And, of course, they've gotten far, far worse in the region. So there's no logical reason to sustain the deal. And quite honestly, the Iranians don't really have a reason to stay in it either. I mean, their big hope was they were going to get this huge economic windfall, which was another lie, and that's not happening. So why would they remain committed to staying?
So wait, we didn't give them bags of cash?
We did, and they spent it all, right? They spent it all on a very aggressive foreign policy. None of it went to bettering the life of the Iranian people, which is what the Iranian people are angry about. And once you burn through all that money, people are not going to invest in Iran. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people that are going to do business with the Iranians. Big companies, they'll figure out a way to do stuff. But nobody is going to invest money in Iran, what's called foreign direct investment, because the system is completely corrupt. The banks are corrupt, and it's just not going to happen.
But we could do more than just nix this deal, even if it's in rhetoric only. We could move to impose sanctions. We could stop this dance of pretending that Iran is going to be our someday partner in peace, and continue to turn the screws on Iran the way we are with North Korea, Russia, etc.
That's the key point. It's not about what we do with the deal. It's what we do with Iran. And what we have to do with Iran is we have to do a range of things, because they are right now the greatest destabilizing force in the Middle East. And a peaceful Middle East is important to us. Not that everybody has to love each other, but that the region isn't melting down, and we have to help deal with that. And it's not just about what we're doing to the Iranians. It's also about what our policy is in Syria and Lebanon and Iraq, and their support for Hamas. And none of this is nation building. None of this is us being the world's policeman. All this is the spectrum of Iranian activities, which are making the world a more dangerous place. We have to kind of whack-a-mole those.
Well, isn't proponents of this Iran deal say it's the only way that we can keep Iran in check? Do you believe that at all?
Okay, so let's list the ways that we're keeping Iran in check.
Yes.
Are they in check in Yemen, where they're fueling a war to try to destabilize Saudi Arabia? No. Are they in check in Syria, where they're on the verge of actually prompting a war with Israel? No. Are they in verge in Lebanon, where they've got a terrorist organization essentially trying to overtake the state? No. Are they are they better in Iraq, where they're fueling militias to try to destabilize and take over that country? No. Are they continuing to develop a ballistic program which would produce missiles, which could deliver a nuclear weapon? Yes. I mean, are they continuing to develop their nuclear technology? Yes. Are they hiding all the technical knowledge that they need to build a nuclear weapon? Yes. I mean, so where have we kind of slowed that down? I mean, John Kerry's body is not a speed bump to Iran being a global threat.
So let's think about the region then. As you were saying, it's Iran, the greatest destabilizing force. How much hope should we put in the forthcoming king in Saudi Arabia as a counterweight to Iran?
Well, look, I mean, I think he's the best thing that's happened to Saudi Arabia in a long time. But the reality at the end of the day is if America doesn't lead, nobody in that region is going to do that. They don't trust each other. They don't have the breadth of interests that we do. We have to lead. And again, it's not being the world's policeman. Look, we are a global power with global interests. The only thing that can really slow us down is if there's World War III, right? And there's only three places World War III can start. It can start in Asia, it can start in Europe, and it can start in the Middle East. And if those regions are stable, then the U.S. will thrive as the engine of global economic growth. And we don't have to keep those regions stable by nation building or getting involved in things, but we do have to protect our interests. And so the United States has to use enough power to get the countries in the region to do things in their own interest. And this president's actually probably the best president we've had on Middle East policy in over a decade. And in many ways, his policies are more mainstream and have actually been the kinds of things that have made the U.S. successful in the region than Bush or Obama.
Men, just going back to what you were alluding to with Iran and Israel, how concerned are you about the prospect of a regional war in the Middle East with the Israelis reportedly bombing Iranian targets in Syria and just kind of a lot of the scuttlebutt that tensions are rising between the two countries? Not that they're always not on high alert, but you know what I mean.
Well, the Israelis are very concerned. I mean, and they've been very, very vocal on this, and they worry about two things. One is Iran's effort, in a sense, to build a strategic land bridge through Syria, essentially right to Israel's doorstep, and in combination with Hezbollah developing a long-range missile force that has precision-guided weapons, which would be very, very tough for the Israeli missile defense system to handle. And so the Israelis feel that if these developments continued unchecked, that essentially they would have no option but to preemptively kind of go in and reduce that threat militarily. So they're being more aggressive, and they're looking at the United States and say, look, if you don't essentially, tell the, or convince the Iranians and Hezbollah to back down, we're going to wind up, it's going to come to a shooting war. That's what the Israelis are saying.
Upcoming meeting between Kim Jong-un and President Trump. They're going to be announcing where they're meeting, when they're meeting, and the parameters of that meeting. Do you think anything would be accomplished during the time that they spend together? Or is this just a dog and pony show? The ultimate reality TV show?
I don't know. I mean, here's what the North Koreans are telling us. I mean, they're saying, look, Kim he doesn't take anybody's counsel. He is making his own decisions. He's done things that other leaders haven't done in the past. So I don't know what's going to come out of it. And the one thing I never presume is to craft a policy North Korea based on we know what the North Koreans are thinking or they're going to do. So in my mind, our strategy is perfect. It's maximum pressure, nuclear deterrence, missile defense, conventional deterrence with our allies in South Korea and Japan, and heavy sanctioning. And as long as we keep that policy in place, Kim can run little circles for all I care. And I think that's key, is to keep that policy in place until North Korea is no longer a nuclear threat, and we'll just let the negotiations take their course then.
I noted yesterday that Steven Seagal was in attendance at Vlad Putin's swearing in, and I was wondering, how he took out those Jamaican drug lords and marked for death. I was wondering
Right.
if you thought Steven Seagal could take out Putin for us.
Pretty unlikely. I think they're actually kind of buddies.
Yeah, I know he was granted
The other
citizenship.
thing is,
Yeah.
let's be honest.
So
I
weird.
think Steven's kind of past his prime.
No, don't tell him that.
The
He's
only
still
thing that's
rebel.
under siege is his waistline.
Oh, very nice.
hey.
Well done. Touche. That's why we love Lieutenant Colonel Jim Carafano, who is Heritage Foundation, U.S. Army vet, author of a number of books, including Surviving the End and Wiki at War. Jim, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, good being with you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.